Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is a Series 7 Guru coming to you with an explication request. If you have an explication request, just send that to explication request at guruexamprep.com, and I'm more than happy to help you out. Here is the request. Miss Green buys 300 shares of RSW at $15 per share. She then writes three RESW July 20 calls at 1 and writes three RSW July 10 puts at 50 cents. I'm a big believer in firing up the T, particularly when you got a lot of stuff going on. If you get good at contract specifications, you get good at tracking money, you will get 100% on options. So now I also believe in doing a lot of time on the initial setup. So let's do the initial setup. Sometimes I even do that before I actually look at the last sentence, which is typically the question. So Miss Green's maximum potential loss is okay. Well, let's just set up our T and track the money. So we paid $4,500 for 300 shares at 15. That's dollars out. We then write three RSW July 20 calls at 1. That's money in. Where did $300 come from? Three contracts. Each contract governs 100 shares, so that's $300. Then writes, by the way, that's an obligation to sell 300 shares. No problem. I have 300 shares, so not a problem there. I then write three RSW, 10 puts at 50 cents. So again, 50 cents per contract. Each contract governs 100 shares. So that's going to be 150, and that's an obligation to buy the stock. So there is my initial setup. And now it says maximum of potential loss. When you got a lot of things going on and you're trying to decide what dominates, bad news, right? It's bad news. And bad news is the stock goes to zero. So how did I know that that would be bad news? Because I've got $4,500 worth of stock, and so that's kind of what's dominating this T, right? Is that 4,500. So I'm afraid that stock is going to go down. Stock goes up, no problem, right? Goes up, I deliver it 20, and I make what, $1,500 there. I keep the $300 for the calls, and I keep the $150 for the put because they expire worthless. So up is good news, down is bad news. If the stock goes to zero, what's going to happen, right? What's going to happen is I'm going to lose $4,500 on the stock. I'm also going to get put 300 more shares, right? Because I have an obligation to buy 300 shares at 10. So I'm going to get exercised. I got now $7,500 worth of stock. My 20 calls expire. The stock is worthless. So I took a $4,500 hit on the stock that I already owned, plus the three I had to buy. The calls expire. And so now all I got to do is total all this up. And I should probably do a churning questions. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 trades and a loss. So all right. So now we total that all up. Yeah, it looks like I'm out a total of $7,500. 4,500 for the 300 shares I bought, and then 3,000 for the stock that was stuck to me. I had an obligation to buy, and I got exercised. I get to keep the $450 for the options I sold. So when we net those two numbers, the answer is 7,050. Do I think you're going to see something this complicated on your Series 7? I do not. Do I like that this illustrates the concept of how important tracking money in and out of the account is? I think it does. Now, I like to use dollars out, dollars in. Some people like to use debit credit. Some people use pluses, minus, whatever floats your boat. So the answer to the question is 7,050. Remember, inch by inch, your Series 7 is inch. Yard by yard, your Series 7 is hard. And I'll see you for the next explication request.